Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
It's time to get your hockey fix. This is Brave the Wild with your host, Paladino Joey, the leader of Minnesota Wild Hockey, here on thesportstuff.com. Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey? This is episode number 80. I don't always say the number of the episode at the beginning of the show anymore, but when it's getting to be kind of another cute little milestone or so, it's figure we'll mention it, especially as we head towards 100 in the coming weeks here. But almost forgot how to do this show, right? It's been about 3 weeks. Gosh, we last recorded on February 9th. Well, it's it's now March. We're back to talk hockey, of course. My voice is a little bit cracked, still recovering from a cold, which luckily have been rare this year, believe it or not, because I've been taking all kinds of immunity-boosting vitamins. So, yeah. But still one slipped through the cracks just slightly. But, hey, nice month of February for the Wild. In fact, the only loss the Wild had, they still managed to get a point coming out of things. That was that shootout loss against Calgary way back at the beginning on February 1st, before the Olympic break. Of course, that's obviously why we've been away. I'm not going to sit and do Brave the Wild during the Olympic break. It's just not, and plus, just kind of needed a break. We did an overtime at work and all that good stuff. I'll jump right into the Facebook page now. You'll hear the jingle later, how to get there during the breaks. But being it wasn't very active, of course, but we do have one post from a very loyal poster and listener to Brave the Wild. His name is Mark Carlson out of Iowa, also known very well on the Purple Mafia page on Facebook. He says, "I missed a bunch of games, Joey. My family is way past the blue line on weekends lately. I did get some time off work today and watched the Olympic women's gold match between Canada and USA. Oh, man, that turned around fast. Anyway, go Wild." And yes, the Wild are doing pretty good, and we're going to get to that super duper shortly. Only 2 games to review and 3 games to preview. We're going to do the usual 3-segment bit, the review segment, then the preview segment, and the North Stars memory. We got something pretty cool, pretty related to what's going on. That's how I like to do that, usually, to something going on in the hockey world, or Wild related. And, of course, the Iowa Wild checkup, which I'm sure will be fairly brief as well. But that stupid Canada. They got in the way from both the men's and the women's in the Olympic gold. And, of course, that women's matchup was quite devastating indeed. 2-goal lead with 3 minutes left. I mean, it's like, what more can you say? It was Minnesota sports-like, I guess. I know I'm pissing off everybody. Oh, well, that's classic Minnesota sportscaster or Minnesota radio host. You got to be so negative on your teams. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay. Let's just be honest about what's going on, okay? It's just, that was disappointing. And, yeah, we've been there and done that. The men's, well, they didn't score a single goal against Canada in the semifinal, you can call it. They call it the medal round, of course. Didn't get to meet Canada on the gold side this time around. Not sure why the brackets were set up that way, but they are what they are. Disappointing that it was set up that way, but that's why you kept hearing people were going to That's why I kept hearing people predicting USA to get the bronze, not like the silver or the gold. And I was like, why the bronze? You think they'd at least get the silver? I mean, or at least maybe have a good shot at the silver, we'll say. And then, of course, they went to the bronze game, and the Mikael Granlunds of the world and Teemu Selänne's of the world just destroyed the Wild. Suter and Parise just destroyed the USA 5-0, and they won the bronze. Congratulations to Mikael Granlund, Mr. Bronze medal winner. Koivu would have been as well, but of course he's out, and he will be returning soon. That'll be an interesting topic, probably on next show. This show coming there, this current show, well, we're going to, I guess, try to avoid Koivu for now, I guess, until the time comes. Just hope for the best, and with the line setups, hoping that top line does not get changed. Great comment, Mark. Never stop posting on this page. Encourage more posters on here. We'd really like that. Always welcome, because I know you're listening out there. And I know there's people that have joined the page already that have posted in the past. Come back and post. I appreciate all of you that listen to this show. Don't be afraid to tell a friend if and when you can, and bring more people to the boards so we can interact with you. That'd be very terrific. All right, so let's get to the games to. Let's get to the games to review. As I mentioned, the Wild narrowly missed a undefeated month of February. Very very big shame that we lost that game in Calgary, because the Minnesota Wild just walked all over a pretty lousy Canada team. Two Canadian teams actually, former division rivals. Did not walk over Vancouver, but walked all over the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, it's like we used to say in the past. What's a nice way to make to get an engine running smoothly again? Well, oil. Edmonton Oilers, yeah, lame but true. And that's kind of what the Edmonton Oilers have been, lame but true. And 3-0 Minnesota. I'm glad to be on the right side of one of these. Remember last year? See, we're making fun of the Edmonton Oilers now and all that good stuff. And Wes Walz sure was sharp. Gave them a sharp tongue in the post game with Jamie Hirsch over there on FSN North, or FSN is North, I believe. Yeah, no, it is whatever it is. Bashed the hell out of the Edmonton Oilers, calling them basically, it was embarrassing, disgusting, all that good stuff. It was kind of fun to listen to him talk about it. You don't really hear Wes Walz necessarily hammer an organization, but the Edmonton Oilers flat out did not show up to play. They're basically already checked out. And he's saying that's why they keep changing coaches. They need a complete culture change in Edmonton. Quite crazy to consider what the Edmonton Oilers were back in the day. I know the 1980s are a long time ago and all that good stuff, but so were the Showtime Lakers and the LA Lakers. Yeah, they're having a not so good year this year, but they stayed good for so many years for so long. And the Edmonton Oilers obviously were we're like the LA Lakers of hockey. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable team. Top to bottom, just so much class, so much talent, so much ability. And really ever since then, other than a nice little Stanley Cup Finals run back in 2006, only to fall short to the Carolina Hurricanes in 7, it's been pretty pathetic for the Edmonton Oilers. It really has. And this night definitely did not change things in any way. This, of course, is wrapping up the month of February, both of these two games here. The game against Edmonton was Thursday, February 27th, that is. Just a nice little win for the Wild. Mikael Granlund picking up where he left off. No Olympic hangover. In fact, there was some bronze medal pride for him, scoring his 6th goal of the year, and he is an absolute candidate for the Mike Modano Award winner. Of course, I have decided who that is. I already have. He's right up there. In fact, I almost might change it one of these times. Just have 3 stars of the week. You know, I may go with that because it sounds more hockey-like, I guess. But I'm debating on that. Maybe we'll get back to that later. Nice play though, Zach Parise. Just an awesome pass. Kind of a centering pass. Granlund burying it for his 6th goal of the year. Spurgeon getting it to Parise originally. Parise, I mean, this is an awesome line. Parise, Pominville, and Granlund. Got to keep that line together. They're so productive. And Spurgeon, obviously, is nice setting up players as well. Just been a nice find for the Wild, obviously, the last few years. And this year, he's certainly better than he was last year. He's been a factor all the time. very fourth line. Yeah, so we talked about the fourth line in the first period, or first line in the first period. Now we're going to talk about the fourth line on the second goal, literally midway through the game. A lot of names you don't really see in the box score very often. Eric Haula setting up Stefan Veilleux. Nate Prosser also getting an assist on this one. Stefan Veilleux's second goal of the year. Just quite a survivor in this league. Still hanging on. Fourth line player. It's kind of because it's like, well, obviously there had been injuries to players like the Koivus and such, and at one point Granlund, at one point Coyle. But it's like, Veilleux's just been hanging on. He's just barely good enough to be in the NHL, and congratulations to him. I actually kind of appreciate him more than I did in the past. When the Wild initially called him up, I just kind of rolled my eyes earlier in the year. But he is just so gritty, so physical, and, once in a while he'll give you that little bonus. The ability is there to at least to score once in a while. Right place, right time type of situation, and Eric Haula is just so. He's got a nice future in this league. He could be a second line, he could be a third line center. He's so good defensively. Eric Haula, you could pretty much put him on any line. You pretty much could. Probably not first, but I think second on. He could be anywhere. I mean, Eric Haula, what's cool about him too is, he's the kind of guy you can put him on the fourth line and it won't hurt him. That's what's nice. You're not going to get the nice stats necessarily out of Eric Haula, but you're still going to get everything. You're not going to get a guy who kind of slacks off like fourth line. Like maybe a Zucker might not perform as well on the fourth line because you are absolutely counting on him to score. But Eric Haula does a lot of little things to go along with the big things. Mikael Granlund has been doing a lot of little things too, where last year he didn't. Much better defensive center than he was last season, and in fact most of last year they had him at a wing, and I was scared to death that he's the next Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Thank God, definitely not the case. I mean, even considering putting Granlund and Bouchard in the same sentence this season and beyond will be laughable, where last year it was very much a factor. It's really starting to show just what a underachiever Pierre-Marc Bouchard was, because he had so much talent. A lot of people thought Mr. Bouchard was going to be a really nice top-line center in this league, and he never came close. Danny Heatley, midway through the third period, chipping it in. His 12th goal of the year. Another close-range goal, and Coyle and Heatley again on this second line. This is the second line, though I could see this as a third line as well at some point. No, it's a second line. The third line's kind of like the same old names like forever, pretty much right now. Broziak, Cook, and Fontaine, who's obviously definitely a rifleman and a hero in the second game coming up. Two big-time heroes in that one. We know who they are. Those of us that actually watched the dang game. Heatley, though, and again, another close-range goal. Right place, right time. 12th goal of the year. Coyle's 13th assist. Nito Niederreiter factoring in as well. It's like you don't want to break these lines up, man. I mean, that's the whole point here. It's not like, okay, this is who scored, and okay, yep, all right, yep, I'm just going to read the box score to you guys, No, it's not about that. It's a fact, obviously it's not about that. It's the fact that these lines are working. The first line, obviously, is elite right now. Mikael Granlund, a first-line center. And it's just like, damn, just imagine saying that a year ago. And again, forgive me, my voice doesn't sound real good because it doesn't feel very good either right now. It doesn't sound good coming out right now. But the second line is pretty good too. Coyle and Heatley, they're working out. But I will continue to contest. Coyle is nowhere near Mikael Granlund. Nowhere near. And again, like last year, you would have been laughed at if you heard anybody say anything close to that. Having Granlund and Coyle in the same sentence last year, coming into this September, September 2013, this season, by the way, not calendar year. And it's not even close. It's just like a seesaw that's gone way one way, favoring number 64, not number... not Mr. Coyle anyway. Oh my God, I mean Coyle. God, the frustration has just been killing me. Number 3, of course. I'm like blanking here. Yes, number 3. Charlie Coyle, only 19 points on the season. But obviously did get his 13th assist there, 6 goals on the year. Nito Niederreiter's been more productive than Coyle. It's just weird. And I know he had an injury, and I'm sure that's what's slowing him down, and he'll get better. And plus, he's had a position change because he was a wing all season last year, and this year he came in at center. He stunk at first, but now the second go-round, he's been better. And that's probably a big part of why his production isn't so great, but I gotta hope and pray that his production level is gonna go up. He's good defensively. He's really good with the puck, like hanging on to the puck with his, obviously strong on the puck, we'll say. You can't really take it away from him because of his strength and his stick handling, but the goals aren't there. And that's one of the frustrations with Charlie right now. So with all of that said, Darcy Kuemper getting his second shutout of the season. Outstanding. Didn't really have to face too much because Edmonton wasn't really trying, but a win's a win and a shutout is a shutout. So that's where the excitement comes in for Darcy Kuemper anyway. So now as we quickly try to move on to the next game, a back-to-back, Friday, February the 28th, of course, like I said a million times, wrapping up the month of February, the Minnesota Wild win in a shootout against Vancouver. I think I predicted a shootout, if I remember. I haven't listened back to that episode. I think I predicted a shootout win against Vancouver. I think I did, which is pretty funny. So that would mean I was right again, which is really crazy. Vancouver scoring early, though, on a shorthanded goal at Ryan Kessler had us all quite worried. It's like, oh, this is not good. The Wild's legs are the Wild are going to be tired after, a back-to-back after the Olympic break. They're not going to really have they're not going to be in mid-season form coming off a long break like that. Like some guys are going to be too tired. Some guys are going to be too, lackadaisical because they've been off. But hey, things continued. The Wild continued to fight throughout this game. Zach Parise tying it up on the power play. There it is, the top line again. Parise, Pominville, Granlund. Do we need to make this point anymore? I mean, I've made it enough. Other shows in this town have made it as well. Not trying to coattail, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing as well. It's plain as day. The production's there. Mikael Granlund is the best center on the Minnesota Wild roster. Please do not insert Mikael Granlund to be the second-line center. He is, first-line center. Please do make Mikael Koivu the second-line center. Do not need to demote Mikael Granlund from where he is. The Pominville, Parise, Granlund line is elite. All right, I've made that point to death. You get the point. The rest of the game was kind of a back-to-back battle. In fact, Vancouver outplayed the Wild, and understandably they did, because the Wild are more tired than Vancouver. But Darcy Kuemper stood on his head the entire night. And I mean the entire night. It was unbelievable by Darcy Kuemper. He just stepped up to the plate, whatever you want to call it. He stood on his head is really the best way to put it. Stopped 30 of 31 shots by Vancouver, and a lot of them were actually pretty good shots. That's the thing. You see the quickness and the length out of Darcy Kuemper, the athleticism and the length. It is a rare combination you're going to get out of a goalie. Because it seems like the tall ones they're just long. That's good, but they're not real quick. And then the short ones are quick, but they're not real long. Well, right now you kind of have a little bit of both because of he's so young and healthy. That's where things are so awesome with Darcy Kuemper. Absolutely the MVP of this game in a big way. And in fact, he has never once, I repeat, not once, given up a single shootout goal throughout the entire I guess only 2 games so far, because the LA Kings, he faced 4 shots in that one, stopped every single one, but this time around he faced 7. No Sedins on the shootout line, which is pretty crazy. Not understanding what was going on with that, but you had a constant effort by Darcy Kuemper. I mean, you got to think maybe one of them is going to just slide through because maybe he just missed it, or, there was just a good enough play that he couldn't keep up with it. But Darcy Kuemper flat out got it done. He was flat out as good as it gets. I kept thinking he didn't stop that. Yeah, they scored. He stopped it. You got to be kidding. And then the Wild, though, was the same thing on the other side. Eddie Lack was stopping every single shot attempt the Wild were getting. A lot of the moves, I thought, were not the best I've ever seen. They are either coming in too slow or coming in too quick, run out of space. Coming in too slow, which made them much more predictable for the goaltender, Eddie Lack. But then Justin Fontaine's first shot attempt, I was just kind of like, wait a minute, Justin Fontaine, well, he does seem to have that scorer's he does have that scorer's mentality, about as good as anybody on the team, despite the fact he isn't necessarily the most talented player on the team. But if there's one thing he can do, it's score goals. And gosh darn it, he did. He was able to get behind Eddie Lack and buried it. I thought Lack got that one, but he did not. And again, this is not Roberto Luongo, is it? It's Eddie Lack. But he did a good job in this game along the way. But LaFontaine... LaFontaine. Yeah, Fontaine. Justin Fontaine. I'm getting Pat LaFontaine on my head because there was news about him this past week. But, man, that was a beautiful move. He hesitated enough, got Lack out enough, and got the puck behind him. And, hey, man, a nice month of February. Minnesota Wild move up a spot in the postseason. They will not have a home ice or anything, but they're significantly ahead of Vancouver now. Have a shot of being in a good position here at least. Still got some ground to gain though if they're going to catch up to Colorado and get any type of get actually out of the wild card bracket and into the regular sixth bracket for the Western Conference. But well, every win counts. The postseason's looking absolutely like a guarantee at this point for this club, and that's the good news. We will take a break and move on to the previews right after this.
Do you shop on Amazon? Did you know that you can support this podcast just by doing your normal shopping on Amazon? It's really easy to do. Just go to thesportstuff.com and click on one of the many Amazon pictures. Do your normal shopping, and Amazon sees that we referred you, and they give us a percentage. We'd like to thank you in advance for supporting thesportstuff.com, and please use our Amazon link. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
We are going round like 7
Too busy to sit in front of a computer? Simply download Brave the Wild on iTunes for Apple devices. For Android, download the Double Twist app. And for Windows and BlackBerry phones, simply find us in the store. And now, back to Paladino Joey. And we are back here on Brave the Wild. It is the preview segment. Welcome back on board. Hopefully I'm feeling better, trying not to cough myself to death during the break here. Oh, man. Calgary Flames. Ladies and gentlemen, the Calgary Flames come to town Monday, March the 3rd. Minnesota Wild try to get revenge against the Calgary Flames after that, well, so what some people might call a very cheap, frustrating overtime loss. Pardon me for this. Overtime loss to the Calgary Flames. That was incredibly frustrating. And it was just so sudden. It just gave you the old Jerome McGinley. Just gave you like the ghost of Jerome McGinley. Not that he's dead or anything, but dead as a Calgary Flame anyway. Hit the Wild again. It seemed like every time we'd go to overtime, Jerome McGinley would score the goal and the Wild would lose, and it'd be like, whatever. McGinley killed the Wild for years and years and years. Don't miss him one bit. He can stay out east forever. Calgary Flames come to town. I predict a victory. I think the Wilds continue their solid play. I think they get revenge on the Flames. I think as we near the trade deadline here, Minnesota Wild, maybe we'll pick up some type of stalwart defenseman out there. Would really like to get a Willie Mitchell type of player on this team. It's all a matter of how much we have to give up. I don't anticipate the Minnesota Wild giving up the farm for a backup goalie or a stalwart defenseman, like stalwart defensive defenseman type of guy, kind of a physical anchor type of defenseman, which the Wild sorely lacks, to be honest. We have a great defenseman in Suter, but he's not the stalwart, tough guy. Stoner is kind of like a extremely broke man's version of it, we'll say. His defense isn't that good. No, he's just kind of a tough guy. Okay, let's get back to business here. Calgary Flames, absolute sellers as we head into the trade deadline. Expect Michael Camilleri maybe to wind up somewhere. Maybe Minnesota, you never know. It's a possibility. His numbers are definitely down from previous years, though he is second on the team in scoring. Goals-wise, certainly not points-wise. Always kind of an injury bug type of guy. Not like major injury, but well, he's missed about 17 games this year, so that's not always a good thing. They're a team that makes no sense. Kind of no rhyme, no reason. Your leading scorer is like in his 30s. You're not going anywhere, whatever. It's just that kind of team. There's really no young, hot prospects on the team, to be honest with you. this team has a long way to go to improving. And I know some Calgary Flames fans have listened to the show in the past. Hope you still listen out there. And if you do, maybe give me a shout-out somehow, Facebook page or something. I'd like to see this team improve. Would be very nice. Not that obviously I'm a Wild fan, but I've always kind of liked the Calgary Flames. I like the colors, I like the logo and all that, and I like the history. I've not been happy with how the history's been the past 15 years or so outside of that awesome Stanley Cup run back in 2004. Stanley Cup didn't win, but it got there. Man, it's been 10 years already. That's weird. I think the Wild win this game. I think they win it. We'll go with a 3-1. We're going to go with a 3-2 Minnesota in this one. I think Darcy Kuemper is more than good enough against a Calgary team that can score, but they do give up goals. That's the good part, even though Ramo was, I thought, pretty good in that game against the Wild last time around. We'll see how things go this time around. I'm sure he will be in net, not Berra. Ultimately, we will see, though. We will see. Should be a nice win for the Wild, though. 3-2. Nothing, it's not going to be the most exciting game in the world, but I think it's going to be the type of situation where you'll have a pretty good feel who's going to win. In fact, I might go with a 3-1 here because Kuemper's been playing so well, and I think the Wild are 2 goals better than the Calgary Flames at this point in time. Just my opinion, even though the Flames were playing pretty hot at the time that the Wild went there. Flames and Wild. This is the season-ending series right here. It's a 3-game series. Wild won 5-1 back Tuesday, November the 1st. This is going to be a 3-1 game, not a 5-1 game. Do you really see the Wild winning, or do you really see the Wild scoring 5 goals? I don't think they're going to blow anybody out this week, except, hopefully Dallas or St. Louis. 2 more games to review. Got to keep moving here. Minnesota heads to Dallas. Boy, I want to pick a win in that one. I really do. But it seemed like the Wild never win in Dallas, and the Stars have been playing significantly better. They actually might end up making the postseason instead of the Vancouver Canucks, which would be something else. I don't think the Wild win this one, to be fair, because we can't go with the Wild winning every single time. The Wild every single game here. And, the last time we went into Dallas, it was a 4-0 drubbing by the Dallas Stars. I picked the Stars to win, unfortunately, and that's just kind of how it goes. I don't think the Wild win in Dallas. They pretty much never do. We do once in a while. In fact, the last time we won before, the previous time we finally did win last year in Dallas, the previous time before that was 2001. So, I'm not holding my breath in this one. We are going to go with a the Stars have kind of gotten better. They do have a little thing going. They do have Jamie Benn, who's been doing pretty well. In fact, he's one of the reasons the Canadians beat the United States in the medal round. So I think Dallas does score a few goals in this one. We'll go 3. I'm going to go 3-1, unfortunately. So it's going to be kind of similar to the Calgary game, except we'll be on the losing end this time around. We'll go 3-1. The Wild scoring isn't that great. That's why I'm not picking any 5-goal games for the Wild right now. I'm not seeing the scoring right now, and it's kind of bugging me a little bit. We only got 3 goals against Edmonton. That might as well have been a 6-0 game with a lack of effort there. With all of that said, now notice how it went from Monday to Saturday. Monday, March 3rd, Saturday, March 8th in Dallas. Saturday, March 8th in Dallas. That's my brother's birthday, by the way. He's 36 already. Crazy. Sunday, March 9th, we will preview that one now because I'll probably be recording this show that night. That's my guess, but we'll see. St. Louis comes to Minnesota. Oh, boy. Talk about a game I really, really, really hope the Wild win. This would be quite the statement for the Wild. We've played St. Louis twice this year and lost them both. We went to St. Louis on November the 25th, lost 3-0. They came to Minnesota on the 31st, and it was a 2-1, just snooze fest. Minnesota has averaged a half goal so far this year against the St. Louis Blues. That sucks. They also now have Mr. Miller, too, out of Buffalo, Ryan Miller, and that sucks, too. I want to pick a win here, but I don't know. I don't like the schedule right now this week, and that's quite a disappointment. Brian Elliott's been really good all year, too. That's the sad part. Halleck is now going to Montreal, by the way. That's who's on his way out of Yes. What am I talking about? Halleck's going to Buffalo, not Montreal. He's heading to Buffalo. Miller, I don't know. Does Miller go in net? Yeah, I actually hope Miller goes in net because he hasn't been having that good a year. Brian Elliott's been very good for the Wild, or very good against the Wild this year. In fact, he was in the net those nights that the Blues basically shut the Wild out. Basically, and of course the Blues score as well. They have one stud after another: Alexander Steen, DJ Oshie, David Backes, Jaden Schwartz, Alex Pietrangelo, Derek Roy. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Kevin Shattenkirk. I mean, everybody on this team can score. It seems like they have like 2-3 lines deep of guys that can get that have 30 points and up. Well, above 30. It's just unbelievable. I can't pick the win, guys. I can't pick a win, and I'm not going to pick a win. We'll go with do the Wild score in this one. That's what I hope. I hope they do. I'll go 2-1, I guess. Lame sauce, right? Talk about lame sauce. Well, yeah, because I think the Wild will approach this with the defensive effort, just like they did. Yeah, I think it's going to be 2-1 St. Louis this time around. If the Wild go on and win this one 3-2, fantastic. In fact, I would love to come out and predict that. You know what? I'm going to. Okay, doggone it. I'm going to predict the Wild win 3-2 in this one because it seems like they have turned the corner a bit. They seem more clutch right now, and Darcy Kuemper has been that good. I'm going to go with a 3-2 victory for the Wild. Let's give this a shot here. It's time to make a statement. You're playing at home against this team. You have to win this game. I think they will view it that way as well. It's one thing if you're going there and it's a loss. Woohoo. And, well, maybe once in a while you actually do win in St. Louis. That would be great. But it's time to win this game, and the Wild will go with a 3-2 victory. That will be my bold prediction of the week, we'll call it. 3-2 Minnesota. They find a way to score. Perhaps Ryan Miller starts, and he isn't that great. That could be exactly what happens, actually. Don't be surprised if Ryan Miller makes his debut with St. Louis, and it's not so great. And the Wild managed to get 3 goals on him, and Kuemper is actually better than Ryan Miller. Right now he is, actually, believe it or not. Right now he is. Okay. Long term, we'll see. I hope so, but obviously way too early to say that. But that's where we're going to go. I'm going to go with the bold prediction. The Wild, this will be a statement game, and the Wild need to make it. But no, I do not have the Wild winning in Dallas. As mentioned, time to go to break and time to come back with that North Stars memory and a brief checkup on those Iowa Wild. Contact us and support Brave the Wild by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter. Don't forget to call into our phone lines at 209-736-7877. That's 209-736-7877. And we are back here on Brave the Wild. Welcome back aboard, and I was just so out of it. I've been so out of it that I didn't even mention the Mike Modano Award for the past week. It's Darcy Kuemper, plain and simple, without a doubt. And if we're going to do a 3 stars thing, it's got to be Darcy Kuemper, number 1, star of the week, Mikael Granlund, number 2, and Zach Parise, number 3, who's been a factor all the way through. Zach Parise's been outstanding. He's been factoring in the scoring, all that good stuff. So he gets the number 3. Granlund's been unbelievable overall. He's been pretty much the leader of the offense right now, which is really cool being able to say that. And Darcy Kuemper is the MVP right now. Yeah. At least this past week and that performance along the way in in both of the games. He was good enough to get a shutout against a lackluster Edmonton team and phenomenal against a Vancouver team who is getting on the point of desperation. And they may be on the verge of rebuilding at some point too. Yeah, because the Sedins were noticeably not on the shootout line. All right, so I do apologize for that. Just out of it, haven't been able to, haven't done the show in a few weeks, and of course, not feeling my best right now. Trying my best to give you a quality show here without botching it too much, and I really do apologize, guys, for this right now. So the whole point of the show is the goalies. When it comes to the North Stars memory, Darcy Kuemper, the Mike Modano Award winner, the number 1 star of the week. We're going to do both, okay? Mike Modano Award, well, yeah, I know that's kind of lame, but yeah, he'll get the Mike Modano Award as the number 1 star. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'll keep that around. James Shepard Memorial, right now, I'm not really going to pass that out this week. I think the Wild played just fine. They weren't spectacular or anything. I didn't see anything noticeable that I'm like, man, this guy really sucked it up this week. And I watched the games pretty closely, so nothing really pissed me off along the ways that I'm going to say that. So we'll get back to that in the coming weeks. Yeah, I just felt really good about this week. So it's like I don't really want to say too much negative. Okay, to the point, North Stars memory. Hello. Goalies. Well, who got the most shutouts? Since Darcy Kuemper has already got two this season. In only a few games this year, 14 games so far as a starting goalie for the Minnesota Wild. And other than that very first one, he's been downright phenomenal. Josh Harding has 3 shutouts on the year. Backstrom has 0, but he's got like 28 over his career, which is insanely good. Great career. Goalie numbers, though, better nowadays than they were back in the old days. So quite impressive to see a guy like Cesar Maniago. That will be the North Stars memory of this week, who has the most shutouts in the history of the Minnesota North Stars with 26. Cesar Maniago will be our North Stars memory today. And a definite old one. He was an original member of the Minnesota North Stars way back when, 1967, all the way up to 1976. Along the way, a very, very solid career with the Minnesota North Stars. Did not lead the way in goals against average. That was Lauren Worsley later on there. Actually, early on, in 72. Cesar Maniago wasn't like the starting goalie all the time. It was kind of 2 goalies at that point in time. Worsley was good in the early 70s as well. Late 70s, early 80s, Don Borpe as well was good. Pretty much the 80s, actually. And John Casey, late 80s and early 90s. And on the North Stars last season, along the way, was a pretty good goalie as well. He had the highest save percentage along the way. We'll talk about those guys later. This show, we're going to talk about Maniago, who overall just one of the legends of the North Stars back in the day. He's a legendary 70s goalie for the North Stars, at least up until 1976. He is 75 years old now, by the way. Wrapped up his career in 1977-78 with the Vancouver Canucks at age 39 with a goals against average of, slightly over 4, unfortunately. Played about half the games that year. Was only 10-24 on a not very good Vancouver Canucks team, because the Canucks just weren't very good back in those days. You never heard about the Vancouver Canucks in the late 70s or really much of the 80s along the way there, with the exception of a couple of runs. But mostly Vancouver didn't really start to become a factor until a couple years into the 90s when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the New York Rangers. But again, I'm getting off track already. I'm all over the place, and I apologize. Cesar Maniago actually started his career as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs with a very limited time there, probably the third-string goalie, and then on to Montreal. This was 1960-61, on to Montreal, the New York Rangers for a couple years before coming to Minnesota. Very, very cool to have him along the way. We acquired him at age, he was already 29 years old when he first came to Minnesota along that season. So Lauren Worsley was actually the main starter at that point in time, but Cesar Maniago just hung on, had some great games along the way. Had a 34-win season, or loss season actually, for the North Stars back in 1969. So, but he still managed to have a good season. That's the funny part. Only 1 shutout that year, though. But back in the original season, 6 shutouts that year. 5 shutouts in 1970-71, 5 shutouts in 72-73. And back then, folks, you got to factor in that is extremely impressive, because most goalies' goals against averages were in the 3s, pretty much. The low 3s, like the good ones. The decent ones, were in the low 2s. So, again, you got to factor in that these numbers are going to be higher in this point in time. Hockey was just higher scoring back then. The goalies had less equipment, all that good stuff, and okay, I'm sure they were a little bit less athletic as well. Just kind of all kinds of stuff. Less tricks of the trade learned along the way, but Maniago got it done. So that's about where we're going to stand right now. Nice to bring him up, even though I'm too young to actually have seen him play, but thank God we can do our research and get to what we need to get to about these guys. Have some memories for those of you out there that maybe you do remember him, or you're just kind of curious what players were along the way. Maybe Google Cesar Maniago, do some YouTube, stuff like that. unfortunately. Never never got to see the Stanley Cup Finals. Got to the conference finals early on against the St. Louis Blues, who went on to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost and never went back. So that's old school back in the late 60s there. Oh, the men behind the mask, folks. The men behind the mask. That was back when they looked like Jason Voorhees with those white hockey masks, those white goalie masks. Cesar Maniago, very famous for that kick-ass looking mask indeed. Luckily, he didn't have to pick up a chainsaw to be a pretty good goalie. So, anyhow, moving on very quickly here. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm just losing my mind with some of this craziness. Erik Haula got to play a bit in Iowa, and he got the job done. He got up to 27 points in only 31 games as a Iowa Wild over the course of the season. Just so productive at the minor league level. Just shows you how good he is and how ready he is for the NHL now. He even got an assist this past week. He's only got 5 points on the year, but again, the continued improvement for Erik Haula is very duly noted. Zach Phillips has been improving a bit. He's now got 10 goals in Iowa, 26 points overall. Gotta like what he's been doing there. Connolly has been traded. He was the leading scorer from the traded to the Chicago Blackhawks. He's now been traded, and the Wild acquired Brad Winchester, who is a left winger from the Chicago Blackhawks system. Not the most exciting trade in the history of the world, but he now leads the Iowa Wild in scoring, or at least he's in AHL scoring. He is the leading scorer at this league level anyway. He's not been doing it for Iowa, but you get the idea. He's the most productive so far. So welcome aboard, Brad Winchester. We'll see where that goes. Probably a career minor leaguer, maybe with some occasional call-ups. Stephen Kampfer was called up briefly, sent back down, and now has 19 points in 50 games. He's okay. He's not knocking anyone's socks off, but he's, I like him. I'm kind of surprised he never got called up yet. I've always kind of liked him. He had some brief time with the Wild when he first got here, went down to Iowa, or Houston originally, now Iowa, and hasn't really been on the Wild since. So the improvement by Zach Phillips, the extremely strong play by Erik Haula, really the major news for the Iowa Wild, and of course Brad Winchester, the arrival of him along the way. 16 goals, 14 assists in that Chicago system over theirs. So there you go. There's your new leading scorer, and it's a wing and not a defenseman now. So there you go. That's your Iowa Wild wrap-up. I want to thank all of you for listening. God bless you. Those of you that have been, apologize that this is probably not the sharpest, best show I've ever done. But at the same time, I'm giving you what I can do. I'm going to give you a good effort every time I come on this air. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you. And I will be feeling better. I'll be healthier next time around. I wanted to get this show done today. I wanted to talk about Darcy Kuemper, how well he'd been playing. Wanted to talk about how important it is that those lines stay together. Maybe Koivu goes to second, Coyle to third. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to get real interesting. We'll get to that in the next show. I got to go drink some cough syrup, guys. Take care. We'll be back next week.